Thanks for staying with us right here on Sunrise as we continue now this Tuesday morning. We take a look at another important conversation now. South Africa is one of the global leaders when it comes to female matters, according to a study by the Medical Research Council of South Africa. The rising rates of violence against women and children demand a unified approach. Names like Reeva Steenkamp, Jayde Panayiotou, Fatima Patel, Dewani, Courtney Pieters, Zanele, Khumalo, Kamvelihle, Ngala, and a whole lot more are some of the names that made news headlines because of domestic violence and child matters. Now, according to the latest numbers released, 19 children in the Western Cape have been murdered since January, and 5 women were killed by their partners in Johannesburg in about last week or so alone. Joining us this morning to delve further into this is Vincentia Dlamini Ngobese, who is an activist from Women and Men Against Child Abuse, as well as Thoko Mpumlwana, who's the acting chairperson of the Commission for Gender Equality Commission. Remember, you can be part of our conversation by giving us a call on 011-447-1742 or 011-447-1620. Those are the numbers that you can be part of our comment, or you can share your thoughts with us as well on our Facebook as well as Twitter pages. We'll be taking your comments. Good morning to you, ladies, and thank you for joining us.
Morning.
All right,
thank
now,
you for having us.
With the recent happenings, we had a few gentlemen in studio and then we had a different discussion. So we're coming back today to continue that. We're just about to start off the Child Protection Week as well. But the big question is so much information that's happening. I mean, that's out there on domestic violence, the outrage with the recent attacks. What measures are in place and what else can we do to take this fight? I don't even know if that's a correct word, conversation forward. Let me start with you from the Gender Commission's point of view.
I think the first thing we need to do is to accept that we live in a society that has problems. Problems from the family, problems of perceptions of male dominance, and a problem of violence. And so we first need to understand that we have a problem, all of us. And once we have that, we then begin to ask ourselves, what can we do? All of us, including traditional leaders. The media has a very important role, and we want to thank the media. I think this time around, the media has really seen that we have a problem. It's not a 16 days event, it's 365, because every day there is a problem in some corner of South Africa. A child is molested, a partner is killed, an elderly person is raped. But these things happen in corners, so we just all have to be alert. That's the first thing. And secondly, we have to accept we won't solve it overnight. It's been going on for ages. It's not a South African problem, it's a world phenomenon of violence against vulnerable, against women and children and elderly in South Africa. Then we need to come together and say, what can we do? Short term, of course, we need people to report. They must continue to report. We need people to hold hands and be able to assist others who are in difficulties. Because we've not been talking about this. It's been a shame to talk about yourself being violated, your child being violated, your neighbor being violated. People have been looking away. And I think now people are no longer looking away.
Okay.
I will stop there.
So now, if we're to interrogate the situation, we do have a problem. What are the reasons behind the problems? Why are we finding ourselves in this situation? You know, year after year, you work with an organization that advocates for for no violence against women and children. What is on the ground? What are you picking up?
All right. I think, firstly, we need to acknowledge the fact that if an adult is going to be abusive or is going to be a murderer or is going to be a rapist, something somewhere went wrong. And we need to start at primary level. I think primary level, instead of pumping money into a lot of, buying T-shirts for Child Protection Week, 16 days of activism, we need to go down at prevention level, because this is where our children are faced with difficulties. Because if we find a child that is going to be exposed to this violence that we currently have, and we're not giving services for children, if a child has been raped, if a child has been physically abused, that behavior is normalized. And how they are going to respond to that, it's in different forms. Other children can turn out, okay, and understanding that, you know, I know how it feels to be abused, I don't want to be an abuser. Others would normalize it and actually become abusers themselves. So we need to ensure, we need to provide what is enshrined in our constitution, a safe environment for children to grow in. And how is that going to be achieved? By coming together, and it cannot be achieved in isolation. We have a lot of children that are vulnerable. We have child-headed households where they don't have role models, where they just watch anything on TV. You know, TV, you know, like there's ratings, you know, violence at this certain age, it's not okay for the child, because at that stage they're still developing, and when they're prematurely exposed to such violence, that behavior is normalized. So there's a lot of issues. When I say that it cannot just be, you know, we cannot just have one solution. It needs to be a collective. We need to have a holistic approach to these problems, to say, if the mother is battling with her own domestic violence issues, what happens to the children? You know, if the mother is too sick to take care of the children, who's going to be the primary caregiver at that time? And us as a community, when we see that there is a child in need of care and protection, what do we do? When somebody calls social workers and say, there is a child that is just unattended, are those social workers who are entrusted, as in the Child Protection Act, are they going to come out and actually going to investigate? When a woman goes to the police station, are they going to open that case because the Domestic Violence Act says that? Are they not going to say, go back, you know, and sort it out? And when a woman keeps on, you know, withdrawing these cases, we need to ask ourselves as family members, this is my sister, why does she keep on going? Instead of us being judgmental and understanding the issues, the interpersonal issues that she has as a woman, what is it that makes her go back to that environment? What is it? What is this dependency?
I mean, it's a myriad of factors. Yes. You know, in one of the conversation was how our culture, you know, our religion is contradictory to, you know, some of the things that the people, the rights that we have, you know, in our constitution, and issues around submission were brought in. Issues of like socioeconomic issues, you know, women having access to opportunities, the pressure that it puts men on. So it's a myriad of factors. What is actually working for us and what's working against us, and maybe that can help us to get somewhere?
I think what is working for us is that we have a very good legal framework that assists us. We start from our constitution, and also our constitution is really based on ubuntu, on seeing the other person as worthy. And so we need to build into that, and all cultures really respect ubuntu. And so what we need to, let's just go back to loving one another, and then begin to bring up children in happy families. And as she was saying, my colleague was saying, there is also a challenge in the family space. Remember, people didn't have to go to work all the time, and we didn't have all these child-headed households. Yeah. All these challenges that we're facing now are putting pressure on the child upbringing. And we have people who will grow up angry, and they take that anger out on others. And so when you have a partner, it's not your partner, but it is your object, you know, your sexual object, a person that you can use. If it's your girlfriend, you own this person. It's not that it's a person I'm sharing my love, my experiences with. And so it's easy to think that the person can't even think. If the person says, you know, I no longer want to have a relationship, you actually want to kill that person.
Okay, yeah. Let's take Sophia from Parents Forum of South Africa, who's on the line. Sophia, thanks for joining us. We're kicking off Child Protection Week. On the backdrop of that, I mean, we've seen the incidents of violence against women and children, what just happened in the Western Cape recently. What is your comment this morning? Sophia? Okay, sounds like we don't have Sophia here. Okay, Vincentia, let me bring you in. You know, the other concerning thing is that it's continuing from generation to generation, and the violence is getting more excessive with the new generation. That some of us might have perception that, you know, they're more exposed, they're more informed, they're more supposed to be more empowered. What is your experience in regards to that?
I think yes, the level of brutality is getting more and more, you know, gruesome in a way, if I may say that. And also, I think, like I said before, the access of what is happening, you know, in that access to internet, access to what is happening on the violence that is there. And I did say that our children are exposed to stuff that they shouldn't be exposed at that time. And as parents, sometimes we let them watch anything that is happening there. And I think that is another issue. And the fact that violence is so normalized. We shun upon a public display of affection, which should be a good thing, that you are seeing a mother and a father kissing each other, you know, in the living room. But we don't want to see that. But it's okay for them to be fighting.
But doesn't that come from our sort of, you know, from our cultural background, where it's you know, we don't want to see that. Or actually, maybe not even. Maybe those are stereotypes that are out there in, you know, in media of, like, you know, this is how you see. You don't see black people affectionately loving each other, kissing and happily, but you see a lot of people fighting on television. And
it's okay. And it's okay that we sing. And how many times, you know, you'd want, I think in my own personal experience, when you see somebody kissing, they will just change the channel. But if there's violence, they're not going to change they're not going to change the channel, which is something very interesting that you need. But we need to be, you know, because culture is dynamic, right? So we need to be accommodating what is happening in our space. And I think also that when we talk about culture, that is why, like I said, it's dynamic. It needs to change. There are other practices that we should not be allowing because they have so much gender imbalances. And you know, we've been vocal about issues about virginity testing, where the boy child, you know, is excluded from the process. It is a cultural and traditional practice that has been done, and we are saying when the girl child is found to be not a virgin, but the boy child is not, us the same question. I don't want to be off topic, but what I'm saying is that how we raise our children, when we say 6 o'clock is your curfew, it needs to apply to both girl and a child. And when we empower our girl children to say, you know what, we need to be independent, we need to have a career, don't leave our girl, because they are going to grow up and they're going to be in a relationship with who? With an empowered woman when they are so disempowered. So we don't leave any child behind.
Okay.
May I also add the issue of drug abuse and a serious abuse of alcohol in our society, that also has become a concern.
Okay.
Because some of these gruesome killings happen when people are very high.